March of my sophomore year, my friend Peyton was diagnosed with a grade 3 astrocytoma in her brain. I remember that day I found out, I called her and she answered the phone and I didn't really have anything to say. And I was just kind of like, hey, and she was just kind of like, it's gonna be okay, we're gonna have surgery, we're gonna do chemo, we're gonna do this, we're gonna fight it. So that summer she had surgery, and I remember her coming back to school. Her hair had gotten really thin because chemo had started, and you could just tell that she'd been a little weak, but as the school year went on, she just got so much better. So the year went on as usual, and in around January of that year, she went back for a checkup, and she had been fine. They had gotten everything, they had done what they needed to do, and she went back and they saw that the cancer was beginning to spread. And Hannah called me and said, hey, Lisa, who is Peyton's mom, just messaged me and said that Peyton went into the ER with a lot of back pain, and they did an emergency MRI, and the cancer is just out of control. I hadn't seen Lisa in a while, and I walked in the door and she was like, Sydney, right? And I was like, yeah, and we hugged her, and she stopped us because we got ready to walk to the living room, and she said, you guys need to prepare yourselves because she's not the girl you saw on Friday. And she was sitting on the back porch with her grandpa, and she had this garden that she planted when she was diagnosed, and it was just kind of like her escape. We were getting ready to leave, and I said, Peyton, can we pray for you really fast? She said, I would love that. And so we sat there on her back porch, and we prayed, and I said, Lord, if it is your will, you heal Peyton. I said, and if it is your not, I pray that you give her a peace about it. And I just remember that moment, and she's saying, I loved that prayer because she was okay with the fact that her fight was almost over. And that was the last time I ever had a conversation with Peyton. It was April 9th, and it was a Saturday, and we were getting ready to come over to Gainesville to stay with my dad for the weekend to be at the church on Sunday. We left, and I got in the car, and I remember I told my mom, I said, Mom, it's not going to be long. So it was April 10th, and I was sitting in church, and I had jeans on and a blue shirt, and we had just sat down from singing, and my phone rang, and I ran out the back doors, and I said, hello? I said, what is it? And she said, it's over. And I just remember being like, I said, what? I said, what do you mean? She said, I just got to the house and there was a note on the door, and it said, we would like some family time. She said, I didn't think much of it because we'd been over there so much and I just wasn't gonna bother them. She said, so I just kind of sat in my car for a little bit, and her grandpa walked out and he said, Hannah, she's gone. She passed away a few minutes ago. And I sat on the front steps of the church, and my mom ran out after me, and I said, Mom, she's gone. I said, an 18-year-old girl who did nothing wrong in this world is gone. And my mom said, she's gone from you, but she's with Jesus now. So the funeral came, and I got up to the podium, and I looked down at my Bible, and I just stared at it, and I just wept. So I stood up there, and I just told everyone how good of a friend Peyton was to me. And it was probably the most beautiful day that I remember, because all we did was celebrate her life and not mourn over it. And those next few months, we'd moved to Gainesville, and I found myself more and more often just thinking about how angry I was that I didn't get to say goodbye. And I was just upset that she wasn't going to be around anymore, and I wasn't going to be able to talk to her. And I just found myself more and more bitter about the fact that, one, I was in this new city with no friends and no job, and I was just sitting at home alone all day all summer, and one of my best friends had just died. And I have this piece of wood that we painted and put both of our handprints on so it looks like we're holding hands. And I just remember looking at that sign and I was just like, why am I sitting here continuously being mad at myself and being mad at God for taking this friend away from me? But that was his plan. And he has a purpose. And at the time, I had no idea what that purpose was. And I honestly don't even know if I know now what that purpose is. But I know that Peyton's not on this earth anymore for a reason. And it took so much time to realize what that reason was. And I just know that I can find so much peace in the fact that Peyton does not have to suffer anymore. And it just took me so long to find joy in the fact that she's no longer suffering. And if God's purpose for taking her was for me to tell her story, then I'm good with that. And if his purpose was for one person to come to know him, then I'm good with that. But Peyton passing away and Peyton being sick is now a huge part of my testimony. And I get to share that now. And I think that it'll bring people to know Christ through the fact that in suffering and in trials, that Jesus is there, and though it's so dark and it's so painful, it shapes you and molds you into such a better person. And that's something that I'll never be able to thank Peyton enough for, because without her being my friend, I wouldn't be able to share her story like I am today. I'm Sydney Tiller, and Jesus is my hope.